Hi everyone, this is Killshot99 Gaming. This is Fear the Walking Dead Season 4, Episode 14, fan reactions. Good stuff tonight. I am going to go through my rating system. I appreciate all of you being here. We're not going to go detail by detail, but we are going to give some completely raw reactions to what we thought about the show. I know Talking Dead's going on. Some people are sort of watching both. I gave it initially an 8.5. I'm going to tell you, there's one thing that could have happened tonight that would have made this the best Fear the Walking Dead. Actually, there's one little tidbit at the end that if it would have happened, I would have said this is the greatest episode of Fear the Walking Dead and The Walking Dead and any television show in the history of television shows. If an alligator would have jumped up and eaten Charlie right at the end and all of us would have been in complete shock, I would have just lost it. That would have been like the greatest moment in television history. But I do have to say that I initially rated it 8.5. I had a list of criteria that I was going to try to check and give it a few bonus points, and it was going right along those lines. I mean, coincidence, references, no uniqueness, but I had this rated at a 9.75. Hold on. But then I had to take away points. So I'm going to ask you right now if you go ahead and rate it, and then I'll give you what my initial rating was, what my next rating was, and then what my ending rating was. So I know some of you said 7s and 8s. So I'm not done yet, Julie. Hold on. So give me your rating for tonight's episode. Let me know what you liked about it, and then we will get into my scoring criteria and exactly where we thought. So Timothy loved it, 12. Anna says 7.5. E-Beach, 9.5. Toledo, 7.5. Wayne Green with a super chat while we're getting some of these. Morgan is the new Rick Grimes of Fear. Maybe not so much Wayne Green because Morgan is slipping. We'll get to that in 1 minute. 8, 8.5, solid 9, 8.6, 9.2, 9.2, a few 9s. Pete D says an 8. So here we go. So earlier tonight, I gave it 8.5. I had my crazy coincidence. I had my Walking Dead reference. I had my Martha situation that I thought was very well done. And the only thing I didn't get was like a really unique walker. I mean, there were some in the hospital. I have to go back and watch it. But I had it all the way up to a 9.75. And then they overdid the coincidences. See, I like when it's like one obvious thing, but when it's like over and over and over again, I took points back away from it. I gave the episode an 8. I actually took away the half a point that I gave it earlier, and I'll tell you why, because they did some things that absolutely just annoyed the hell out of me, and we draw the line. So let me get to what I thought was really well done, and then I got to kind of take it away at the end. How about that? So the crazy coincidence, there were a couple of them. I can live with one, but when you get a whole lot of them in there. So the first one that I thought was like super coincidental was when they found the walkie-talkies in the hospital. So there were some things going on with Jim, and that kind of spiced it up a little bit. But it's like they walk in, they're not really searching anything. It's like, hey, there's 3 walkie-talkies here. So to me, that was just super coincidental. But then we also got another one that was like the complete obvious. Jim and Morgan. Jim's having the conversation. They are found a wheelchair in a hospital. Maybe a wheelchair in a hospital. Lisa, I could probably give you that. But the walkie-talkies and the method of communication, these things are just popping up. I mean, it took Rick's group like how many seasons to find them? And in Fear, they can find them like growing like apples. So then you got the continued coincidence was when they said, Jim, not even a scratch. And Jim says, oh, well, I'm good at living. So you knew something was going to go down. Well, you knew from the spoiler too. But then they're in the hospital, and Jim and Morgan have their moment, and Jim's like, earlier I kind of said, and he's looking to apologize, and then all hell breaks loose. They break through the window, and then ultimately Jim blamed Morgan. So he blamed Morgan for getting him shot at. Then he was going to forgive Morgan, and then he ended up blaming Morgan all over again. So kind of back and forth. I thought that was a little too coincidental. But I was okay with it. I was ready to live with it until the very end. And then that really threw me off. So before we get into picking it apart a little bit, if you guys could do me a big favor, slap that like button. I'm going to call on a few people because I want to get your thoughts in here. These are your reactions. Let's get this thing up over 100 likes. And I'm going to ask you right now, first and foremost, what was the most shocking moment of tonight's episode? What was it? If I picked one thing and said, I need your reaction to this, what would you give your reaction to? And Wayne Green, to kind of answer that question, Morgan is kind of the de facto leader at this point, and I think June is sort of trying to build him a little bit, but her medical training has definitely got her thinking, but she just can't let the group fall completely apart at this point. Chosen One says Alicia's fate. Charlie finding the hat. Yeah, Alicia found the hat. Jim finally defending himself. So, now why did I go from an 8.5 down to an 8? And this has been, this is the Toledo scale, right? So as Toledo said, a month or so ago, and we're talking about it, where's the line between bad writing and coincidence? So I'm good for a coincidence. I'm good for humor. Until you wear it out. And tonight, I get that Alicia and Charlie wanted to go to the beach, and I understand the flood and the symbolic nature that, hey, it's a beach. You did get me to water. You did get me here. But then John had to lose the hat, and the hat had to wash up, and instead of going to the beach, they had to get detoured. This was too much. This was season 3 to me. This was season 2 to me. I needed something a little bit different. I didn't need all of that. I really felt like they were milking it a little bit tonight. Doesn't kill the episode in my mind, but it made it an average episode when I thought it was a really, really good episode. And it was trending. It was trending well. I thought there were some really powerful references. I absolutely loved the Martha flashback. I kind of like finding out what makes people tick. I thought they went through the stages of insanity extremely well, showing exactly, because you can't really do that in an episode, and they were able to do that in about 10 minutes. They were able to show really what turned her off and what made her completely evil. And, I mean, think about that. Think about how you can, we see this person and we know they're already at this stage, but then we got to backtrack and get them there within like 10 minutes. I thought they did that extremely well. And I thought the emotion and the acting was very real. When I saw her response to her husband, I felt it. I thought the acting was great. And then how she just I really thought the further and the farther, I thought that was great, showing that she's clear, right? She's got, her and Morgan are suffering from the exact same thing in my mind. Not a variation of it. They look like they are just identical, what they're going through and how they relate to each other. So I thought all of that was really good. And I do like that she, instead of doing the killing herself, she just has the next man up. It's like, no, you're going to kill this person, and then I'll let you go. Now you're free. You're going to kill this person. So we saw a little bit of that, but then we saw that she's just not really killing a lot of people. The blood's not on her hands, even though it kind of is. I also think the Wendell story, and Althea had to ask him the question of, how he got in the wheelchair in the first place. And then you got a little bit of the kind of a backstory with Wendell and Sarah without even having to get into a backstory. You found out he wanted to be a Marine and she was a Marine, and then she couldn't she didn't want to stand for that code, so she got out. And I think that was a shot at that was a little bit of a shot at standards and code and how things needed to change and should change. And then a couple people brought up the callbacks. They said remind them of Beth, remind them of the Merle scene. So the hospital in general definitely was a callback to The Walking Dead. And I didn't mind that. I thought there were a lot of the original Walking Dead when they were, the wide angles, when they're walking down the road, when you can see the city in the background. You see a city in Texas in the background, but in the original Walking Dead, you saw Atlanta in the background. I thought all of that was good, and how they just, you could just see them moving on down the road. I was really into the episode until it just got too coincidental at the end. Yeah, those were good. I see a lot of people, definitely they love the Walking Dead references. Lieutenant Ripley. I didn't even bring up the elevator either. I mean, the elevator, that could have been my coincidence. So, of all the really obvious, the crazy, we call it the crazy coincidence of the week, and they have done it every single week. There's just this one thing. You're looking around, it's like, oh, okay, well, I did have this block of cheese, and there's my cheese grater. It just happened to work out that it was there. Yeah, Al being able to go down and fix the elevator and do it right at the moment before they all got eaten. I mean, you guys realize if Al was 2 seconds later, didn't that remind you a little bit though of the almost every action movie that has a bomb in it, where it's got red wire, blue wire, which one do you cut? It was almost like a reverse of that. You know how it always gets down to hurry up, there's 10 seconds, 9, 8, and somebody always has to close their eyes. It's like Mission Impossible, and just pick, and they clip the wire at just the right moment. Well, this was the opposite. She had to get the elevator going at just the right moment. And I'm not saying it was bad. I mean, we need a certain amount of action. But I thought when Jim got in the fight, I thought he wasn't going to stab that walker all the way, in the brain where he needed to, and it was going to bite him in the leg. That's what I thought was going to happen. I'm just reading through a couple comments just to catch up. I don't know, Lieutenant Ripley. I wouldn't agree that that's life. I would say if anything happened, that if Al, stopped to scratch her left ear, they would have all been eaten. Jimmy's Jammin' with a super chat says, hi, Kill, Steph, Kale, Tommy. Oh, Jimmy's doing the shout out. The sweet enforcer and all the 999. Busy working but catching replays. Be back tomorrow. Loving me some 999 Army. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate that. I think you don't, you could always say, go back to the butterfly effect, and everything in life is cause and effect. Or fate, right? I mean, it's got to be one or the other. But something always happens because something else happens. And the reality is, when you're writing this, they have one of two things. They're either going to eat everybody, and we're not going to be watching the show the next week, or there's going to be a narrow escape, and we're going to be somewhat, it could be forced drama. I get that. But if you don't do some of that forced drama, it's going to be, well, they had 10 seconds to spare and nobody cares about it, so you're not on the edge of your seat. So I understand what they're trying to do with it. And I do have to keep reminding myself it is a TV show. But I'm okay with that. I'm okay with it happening sometime. I'm not okay with it being the sole driver of the story, where everything is based solely on coincidence. Because I don't think they need to. I think they have a good story. I think they have good characters. I think they have good dialogue. And sometimes you kind of fill it, you try to fill in the blanks a little bit too much. Kirby, what do I think about AMC marketing The Walking Dead with Rick's final episodes? Why not? What's wrong with it? It's not using him. Andrew's getting paid a hell of a lot of money to do those episodes. I mean, what's wrong with them letting viewers know? I mean, the word's already out. Tune in. Catch Rick Grimes' final episodes. I think they should 4 episodes left just to hype it up a little bit more. Bring the viewers back. Let them know. I mean, there's still a certain amount of people that don't believe that it's his final episode. So they pretty much, he said it, other people said it. But even after it was announced, there were people that came out and said, oh, this is a big front. They're just faking it. He's not really going to leave. No, he's going to leave. I don't know. Kirby, I didn't see it as pushing it. I mean, I'm going to watch it regardless. I mean, if we're going to watch it, they're not really pushing it on us. I think they're trying to push it on the people who may not have watched and they want to try to bring them back. And why not? Bring all the fans back you possibly can. I'm going to catch up on a couple comments here. I will tell you, next week looks like it has some serious action, though. There might be more action next week than there's been in the last couple episodes. The thing is, let me be as honest as I can. And I've said this before, and you're free to tune out and not listen or not like it, but this is kind of my opinion with that. The time to threaten to stop watching is over. If you're not gonna watch after Rick leaves, it's okay. But don't make it as if whether I stop watching or you stop watching that really means anything, because the show's already done what the show's already done. It's already written. It's already filmed. It's already going to happen. To say that after Rick dies or after Rick leaves, I'm not watching The Walking Dead anymore, it's just kind of pointless. And we're going to get that spammed by so many people. You have no idea how many people have commented on videos, and that's like the only thing that they'll say. The show's dead, and after Rick dies, I'm not watching anymore. Well, just leave. I mean, if you're going to leave anyway, what's the point of like screaming on the way out the door? No, I mean, I think, Frank, it may be great. It may be good. It may be good enough. I mean, that's the thing. Some people are going to watch it to the end, and some people are going to leave, and I'm okay with that. But it's the ones that just keep saying over and over again, I'm going to leave, I'm going to leave. I don't need to hear 1,000 times you're going to leave. Yeah, I mean, Toledo, it's a good point. These people who wrote it, they got to deal with that. I mean, if they couldn't find a way to work it out with Andrew, which they couldn't, or, well, they couldn't now, maybe they will in the future, but if they decided that it was best for the show to terminate Rick's existence, they own that decision. And if they lose viewers, they lose viewers. If they lose their jobs, they lose their jobs. If the story goes sour and it's not good anymore, they have more to lose than we do. So, I could get on here and say, you know what, show's terrible and I'm not going to watch and nobody should do this, and it's not going to accomplish anything. Well, Kel, I have gone on the record of saying that, right? So Kel says, what do you think of Al asking lots about military and then making a brother reference? I think we mentioned that a few weeks ago when we were talking about the tapes. And we were talking about the tank. And I said, I feel like the tank is important to her because I think it was a gift from Abraham. I'm not sure when we discussed that, but it was, and I might be wrong, I might be off base, but I do think that's Abraham's sister. I think initially I said there was a relationship between the two, and then people took it the wrong way, and then I clarified my position and said brother and sister. But that tank is awfully important to her. It has some sentimental value. I think that by the end of the season, that may be the season finale. Is maybe, we talked about it could be something Morgan related, but the season finale, I think will be something to do with the tapes. And I don't know if it's a matter of Abe leaving his sister behind or his sister wanting to go and do whatever she wants to do, because she seems to me like a person that if journalism is her thing, she's going to go wherever she wants to go. She's been independent since day one. And perfectly okay flying solo. She did. It was Abe and the doc. So Abe, obviously she knows his name. Yep, check the tapes. Couple more highlights and we'll wind this thing down because I know you guys want to catch a little bit more of Talking Dead, and we'll get into some more serious conversation tomorrow around The Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead. The Sarah-isms are not quite as good as Abraham, and they are trying to throw some humor in there. I think tonight it was what? Shit in a sandbox? Was that their punchline? Yeah, I mean, the one thing that was a little different in the spoiler information, or I misinterpreted the spoiler information, was we definitely know that Martha's alive. So when I read that, I thought there was an explosion, and they didn't know exactly what happened to her. But yeah, she is alive and well, and we will get to see her next week. All right, and Morgan back into clear mode. So, closing thoughts. We got just a couple more minutes here. Anything else you'd like to get included in this video, something we may not have covered? I know I didn't get a chance to call on everybody, but there was not a lot to this episode. It was kind of segmented. There were just only 3 or 4 things that were happening, and I think the spoilers hit it pretty close. The dialogue filled a lot of the holes. But, I guess the common theme, we get the flashback, we get to find out, what made Martha what Martha is. I guess here is, while you guys are typing that, here's a question I have for everybody. The SWAT, the tank. Is Martha able to be saved in your mind at this point? Is she responsible? Or did society push her to a point where she lost it? No sympathy out there at all for Martha and what she had to deal with. Got a couple? Only a couple people. Anna. This would be a very heated debate. So Anna says, no, she's just an evil person. I'm on the fence with this. I know it's not a popular opinion because it's easy a lot of times when people go through these stages, these psychological changes, and we can label them and we can say, you know what? Crazy. Can't be saved, crazy, lost it. Whatever term we want to use, it's not a correct term. Wacko, I think I saw a couple times. But the emotion that she went through in order to get there, and all the people that turned their back on her, and you could see she was having these conversations with herself. So I didn't think she was inherently evil. I thought that she became evil and became evil through the emotional situation that she was in. She's broken, heartbroken and broken. She snapped. So I guess my question would be, we can label it as crazy, we can label it as evil. Is Martha in control of her own actions? Let me ask it that way. I don't want to get too far into this because, man, I could make this a super deep conversation and the stream would go on for another hour. And we'll touch on it later on the week because I do think I think there's some good stuff to talk about with Martha. Timothy's like, yes, another hour. So Tammy says she's not, but at some point she has to be deemed responsible. I almost agree with you. I'm not sure about the word responsible. Because if she's not in control, she can't be responsible. I mean, we don't know what is driving her to do that. And if she has the ability to stop it. Clearly, she doesn't seem to have the ability to stop it. It's a tough topic because it's one of those topics that people tend to take it beyond a TV show, and it's hard. So I don't know. You know, maybe for sake of argument, at least for the TV show, it might be a little less... I'm walking on eggshells here. It might be easier for just to say, you know what, she's not savable, because we're gonna have the audience split here in a little bit. We will dig down a little bit deeper and talk about Martha. It was interesting though that there wasn't a lot of sympathy for her. We saw her backstory, and I think there was a little bit, but then the first time she started killing, then people just lost complete respect for her. Here's the thing. I knew you guys were going to do this. Maybe, she's insane. I mean, there's no doubt she's insane. I've mentioned this before. This is a psychological study. Just something I want you guys to think about in regards to Martha. Now, I'm not trying to change your perspective overall, but there's a psychological case study where a lady was in her mid-30s and no issue, no track record. And this is why I said it'll relate to something real. Now, this lady didn't go out and start sticking sticks through people's throat and having them attack each other, but she had no issues, normal lifestyle, and then out of the blue at age 35, she just went out and her lifestyle started changing, where she was just out there dating everybody you could find, doing anything hey, if that's what she chose to do, is what she chose to do, but it was different. And then she went and had some tests, she started getting some headaches, and she had a tumor on her frontal lobe. And it changed her behavior. She had it removed, and her behavior went back to something similar than where she was before. And the only reason I bring this up is because in this situation with Martha, and I think this is the debate and why they wanted us to see the backstory, they could have very easily made us think that Martha was evil and just went in that direction, but they intentionally went back and showed us what it took to get her there, even to a point where she was digging her husband's grave with her hand. So to watch, and here's the thing that I would throw out to all of you. Not that I can ask you what you would do if you weren't in control of your own actions, but prior to that, if you were Martha and you were there with your loved one, hold on. Time out for a second. Before we get into what Martha has done, let's recap for a second. She was there watching her husband die, begging people to stop. Nobody stopped. This wasn't an hour. This went on for days. Completely helpless. And then she had to put her husband down. And then she had to bury her husband. And then all that stuff happened afterwards. That, talking to herself and just losing it. So, Toledo, you can't assume that she's living through her husband. Because if she doesn't have control of her actions, it's not the same person. It's a different person. And what she's focusing on is that last traumatic experience before she went over the edge. And that last traumatic experience is nobody would help. Nobody would help. Nobody would help. So now it's they'll pay, they'll pay, they'll pay. So what happened prior to that is probably not even in her memory. That's the bad part of it. And I think that was meant to be debated and discussed, and I thought that was really Martha's storyline tonight, is they could make her evil, but they want you to see both sides of it. That's kind of tough. You can't say should and could and would. I'm going to throw you one last example out there, and I'm not picking sides on this. But I have, they're recently doing a study, if you guys are football fans. Aaron Hernandez had some of the worst CTE ever discovered in an athlete. Before the age of 26, I mean, that's some deep stuff. And like I said, it's I think the episode was meant to hit home and everybody would have a reaction to it like, hey, I've been through something similar to this and it never happened to me, or I do know people who have been through something like this and this is how they changed, or this is an example of it, or these are different things that went down. So there'll be more to come. We'll debate this a little bit more. But like I said, if we open up this can of worms and start talking about it, this will be an hour-long debate on the psychology of it. That's where I really thought the episode was scoring. I thought it was scoring a lot of good wins with the story and how are they developing it, and then they just kind of it seemed like they just kind of filled it and they had to go full circle because they got 2 episodes left and we got to regroup everybody. Maybe they shouldn't have had them that far spread out, so they had to bring them all back in a big coincidence. All right, everybody. We are going to we're going to stop it right there. So this topic will come up again later on in the week. Let's table it, talk about it a little bit tomorrow and some other Walking Dead topics because we're starting to get little bits and pieces more and more and more that are coming out. So really some good stuff to talk about. I want to thank everybody for being here. I know it got a little bit real there, but as I said before, let's let it digest, marinate a little bit, and get together and talk about it tomorrow night. So I want to thank everybody for being here. Thank all the patrons up in the top left. Thank all the sponsors over in the top right. If you guys could all just give me a quick 999, we'll do this super, super fast so everybody can watch the end of Talking Dead and see a little bit of sneak peek from next week's episode. So thanks, everybody. I want to say, give a shout out to Ginseng Hunter, also to Bumblebee Brown, all the moderators, Emmy, Steph, Tommy Kells, Maria Favada, Phoenix Rising, Valar, Angie Homan, have a good night, Tammy Heitzman, Holly B., Lieutenant Ripley. Viola McGowan, Samantha W., Toledo, Coma Drug, Crystal, the singer chick Gore, what's up? Patrick Ivers, Samantha Coombs, Jimmy Coonan, Lark Song, Candy Z, Lisa, Cammy, Ed, have a good night. Timothy Lamora, have a good night. Diane Estes. Chris Riddle, have a good night. The Walking Dead Nerd, thank you. Dawn of the Frank. Drama King. Nice Richie Valens on The Talking Dead. I'm going to go see me some Lou Diamond Phillips. Colleen Hayes, have a good night. Jimmy says la bamba. Para bayar la bamba. Para bailar la bamba es necesito escalera grande ocha chiquita y arriba. I just went Richie Valens on you guys. That's the way to take it home. Gina Crockett, have a good night. Lakeisha Faison. I roll my R's like someone from Atlanta. I absolutely cannot roll them. All right, everybody. I think I missed a ton of shout-outs, but I will we'll catch up tomorrow. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night. It's been a super, super long day. I'll catch y'all at 9:30 tomorrow. Peace.